Advice for increasing their drive?
Or just, I don't know.
I mean, my basic attitude there is if you need help getting more drive, choose a different career. This is not going to be easy or kind to you if you need motivation to get out of bed. It should be one of those that you're an unstoppable tornado who's blowing into every room, excited to tell everyone. I don't care how esoterically specific what you do is. It should be something that you think everyone on earth needs to know about this. And that's should not be construed with arrogance or anything like that. In fact, nothing could be a bigger enemy to creative work than arrogance. But as an example, last night I met Tina Nebrovsky, the 2D artist here, speaking about Cuphead. Well, I never had so much conversation in my life about 2D hand-drawn animation. It was like it was my entire life's worth of conversation on that topic doubled in one dinner. Because she lives and breathes it. And I was like, that I think is a minimum requirement. That's not even laudable, that's a prerequisite to this business, no matter what your discipline is. You should love it so much that drive, motivation, excitement, that's not the issue. It's how do I earn a living from this? How do I go out there and find the right collaborators and people that I gel with and who want to tell the same kinds of stories or similar kinds of experiences or whatever that I want to tell or create. Never, I mean, I like music, but do I really love it? It's like, prepare to be eaten alive. And I don't say that cynically. It's because there's a lot of people who do feel that way, who are competing with you. And to me, that's exciting because it means good music and good games and interesting experiences are all but guaranteed to emerge because there's just too much content out there where a sea of generic things get created and therefore requiring distinction to get noticed. And so it creates a kind of almost Darwinistic situation where your natural selection pressure is requiring innovation, requiring motivation and drive. And yeah, there's plenty of game studios that are saying, we really shouldn't be doing these, 6-month crunches where you're working 7 days a week for 20 hours a day. And I, from a health perspective, agree with that. But at the same time, I say, well, do you want it or don't you? I mean, let's figure out a way to healthily do this job. But at the same time, like I have crunched 1,000 times, and I don't ever resent it because I think on the worst day of this job, it's still my dream job. No amount of stress makes me say, I really would love to be fill in the blank with literally any other job right now. I don't know what that feels like. And so for me, and that's not something I've earned, it's just how I'm wired. It's the blessing and the curse. I don't know how to not be that way. But I tend to find that the people that manage to make a living and they tend to be that way also. So to me, it's a matter of self-reflection. There's no shame, I think, if you realize I don't actually love it that much. I'm not willing to sacrifice everything for it and to put myself on the line and put myself out there and make myself that vulnerable. And it's like, that's okay. There's no one saying you should. It's just, you'll find this career very difficult if you don't. But if you still want to try anyway, by all means, I'm never going to discourage that. I want everyone to have a shot. Nothing would please me more than for someone to say, oh, I kind of stumbled into it. I didn't even really want to be in games, but then a situation came up, I went for it, and then, hey, it turned out really well. And if they made a brilliant game, I'm not going to be like, well, you're not really a game developer or something. I don't care about any of that. It's just, if you're asking for advice and you don't love this industry and love games. Here's another example. I talk to a lot of composers that aren't really gamers, my colleagues of mine, who, in many cases they want to score movies, but they found an inroad in games and somehow found that to be easier, which is completely preposterous. But nonetheless, I encounter that a lot. And I say, you don't play games? How do you get jobs? It boggles my mind. I don't understand how that happens. It does happen, but I don't understand it. Because to me, it would be like if a director, filmmaker, says, I'm going to make a film, but just let's get to know each other first. What were some of your favorite movies last year? And I'm like, nah, I don't really care for film. Why on earth would that person want to hire me? What possible reason would they have to have confidence that I can speak the vocabulary of cinema? Well, to me, it's no different than in games. If I can't rattle off if someone hires me to do a shooter and they say, what are some examples of games in this genre that you're into? And I feel like if I have no concept of what they're talking about, I've given them a very good reason to go hire, Mick Gordon or someone else much better suited, you know? And so it's like, to me, but that shouldn't be a challenge. You should want to, at least in my case, the passion for wanting to work in the game industry came from a love of games to begin with. So it was never an issue of having to go do my homework. It was just, how do I turn this thing I love into a way to put food on the table? So anyway, I kind of wandered around your question there.
I think the first part.
But yeah, to me, motivation should just simply never. There are a lot more motivated people than there are employed people. So the way to go from one of those circles to the smaller subset group is not to not have the motivation. That's impossible.